One of the novelties about it as a view of Jewish history is that for someone who's regarded as a non-conservative Jewish historian, I'm advocating actually a kind of internalist Jewish history as a meaningful thing, but as a way of teaching Roman historians that there's more to provincial history than they think. Now, it's usually unrecoverable because the Romans did, in most other places, such a good job of erasing the traces of everything else. And, you know, the literary traditions and so on weren't taken up into Christianity and into these long enduring religious communities where we actually know about, you know, a non-classical type of culture, which was flourishing there right under, you know, right under the surface. But it's a warning that they need to keep in mind. You know, to talk about, well, local culture in Gaul means that, well, this version of Minerva resonates with the goddess who was traditionally worshipped by the Gauls. And here in this pottery at La Grofisonc, you know, that they're graffiti in Celtic written on some of the pieces of pottery, you know, and their local styles. That's localism. That's bupkis. That's nothing. I'm talking about something which is totally different, which is a survival in a strong form, even if preserved only by a minority of the Jewish population. The survival of some strong, great tradition version of Jewish culture under Roman rule. Were the Jews unique? I don't know. I think I conclude this book by saying that the Jews may not have been typical, but they may have been diagnostic. That is, they can tell us what you could actually get away with culturally under Roman rule. And they open up for us the possibility that there might have been other groups of people trying to get away with stuff also. Other people might have internal history. We can see what the Christians were getting away with also. I mean, it's similar. The Christians, although the Christians are way more plugged into classical cultural norms. The real larger point that I was trying to make in the book for Roman historians is actually, and more for Roman historians than for Hellenistic historians, I think that in the context of Hellenistic history, the Jews have a perfectly perspicuous place. They're the same as everyone else. They just do their own stuff, but just everyone else is doing their own stuff too. The Jews are just another group. But the Romans adamantly supported a certain type of local governmental structure, which is taken for granted. I've just actually been writing about this in a different context. Roman historians still talk about the Greek East, as if the East was Greek, which is actually a really baffling thing. They're just simply buying in to the Roman perspective. But the Roman perspective is politically loaded. The Roman perspective actually involved a decision to rely exclusively on the constitutionally Greek city as their power base, to the exclusion of all other types of institutions. So they produced an illusion of the East being Greek. But the East wasn't only Greek. You know, and to some extent the point needs to be made because of, you know, certain flukes in the history of humanistic study in the European university in early modernity. You know, classics rose up as the anti-theology, which meant that all books which were the province of theologians, the intellectual province of theologians, were not read by classicists. So books which were written by next-door neighbors at exactly the same time are taxonomized in a way which separates them from each other completely. The ancient Jews from Alexander to Muhammad. Was that too much? You wanted a little more restraint? Less method?